Lurking in the shadows of your favorite track is a snake. It'll creep up on you and then strike, leading with an unforgettable, deafening hiss. Suddenly, you're injected with the venom of a dangerous lap time that no other snake can compete with, throwing yourself around corners, praying for it to be over. After being tossed around like a rag doll, it finally lets you go and you search for the anti-venom of a lap record. I'm Matt Myers, and welcome to Cardeology, a series breaking down the heart and soul of iconic parts of the automobile industry that shapes the way we see and experience cars today. Today, we'll be talking about the Dodge Viper. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to know when a new episode is out. The Dodge Viper was initially conceived in the late 1980s as a concept car and was brought to fruition through collaboration between the American automaker Chrysler and Lamborghini, an Italian sports car manufacturer. The design team included Tom Gale, who played a significant role in shaping the car's distinctive and aggressive appearance. The Viper aimed to be a modern-day, high-performance tribute to classic American sports cars, particularly the Shelby Cobra. When debuted at the North American Auto Show in 1989, the people loved it, so they decided to head Roy Sjoberg as chief engineer for the project. He selected 85 engineers to become Team Viper, and in 9 months they started production to a working prototype. The prototype used only a V8 instead of a V10, which was supposed to be in it. But once they could put the V10 in it, Chrysler chairman Lee Iacocca was like, "Hey, you know what, this is pretty cool," approving production in 1990. It did take just under 2 years to put it out to the public. Dodge wanted to make something that was unequivocally American, making a bare-bones, wild, untamable track monster that you could literally drive on the street. The first generation had no door handles, keyholes, or air conditioning, and it was a convertible by standard. The only comfort features it came with was manually adjustable leather bucket seats, an AM/FM stereo with a cassette player and a high-fidelity sound system, and interior carpeting. Options came later to fix these things, like climate control, which was offered as an option for the 94 and 95 models, and each model came with a lightweight fiberglass roof to cover the canvas roof shipped separately from the car. You know the first safety feature that you think of besides a seatbelt? Did you think of an airbag? Yeah, it didn't have those. I wasn't kidding when I said this thing was bare bones. It was more dangerous than a Mustang in the hands of an irresponsible lead-footed teen. Why do you think they called it the Viper? The first generation of the Viper is mainly the one I'm talking about, but the later generations came with a few more comforts and safety standards. The second generation found itself with some more power, a removable hardtop with a sliding glass window, and some lighter suspension components. The second generation also brought the GTS version in 1996, which made even more power, had air conditioning, power door locks, and airbags as standard. That's right, it took 5 years for airbags to be standard in this thing. The GTS's parts were more than 90% new from the regular second-gen Viper, which is extremely costly. The third generation received an extreme redesign in 2002, no thanks to Chrysler's Street and Racing Technology Group, or SRT for short, and was introduced as a convertible. The Viper SRT-10 replaced both models of the last generation entirely. They went for a lighter and stronger aluminum space frame chassis, but shelved it because Chrysler was in a financial crisis. In 2004, Dodge introduced a limited edition, Mamba Edition, that featured black interiors with red stitching and trim. The package saw a $3,000 price increase, and 200 were produced with the package. The Viper SRT-10 Coupe was very similar to the previous generation's GTS, borrowing the GTS's double bubble roof shape, which was made to accommodate drivers wearing helmets, the GTS's taillights, and the paint scheme of blue with white stripes. There was no model for the 2007 model year because they wanted to focus on preparing for an updated 2008 model. The fourth generation got more of the same, sporting more power with some upgrades to the engine's performance with the help of McLaren, Ricardo, and Continental AG. The body underwent few changes from the previous generation, but became easily distinguishable with the vented hood. They reworked the exhaust system to not cross over under the cockpit, which heated the cabin of the car in the last generation. The electrical system was completely revised, adding new electronic components to the car, including a bigger alternator, electric cooling fans, an electronic throttle, and a brand new engine management system. The fuel system was also upgraded with a higher capacity fuel pump and filtration system. The Viper ACR made a return in this generation and went around the Nürburgring, clocking a record time of 7 minutes and 22.1 seconds. This generation was the last before Dodge announced its hiatus for the Viper in 2010. The Viper came back in the 2012 model year absolutely bejeweled in upgrades to everything to become an absolute track monster. Despite being how crazy it was, sales were extremely poor and production was super slow. They responded by lowering the price by $15,000 for the 2015 model year. Sadly, in October of the same year, Dodge announced that production of the Viper would stop entirely in 2017. Production of the two-seated Nightmare began at the new Mack assembly plant and then moved to the Conner Avenue assembly plant in 1995 in Detroit, Michigan. Due to serious financial problems, Chrysler considered ending production. Then in September of 2010, CEO Sergio Marchionne announced and previewed a new model for the 2012 model year. The Dodge Viper was named number 10 on the Most American Cars list, meaning 75% or more of its parts were manufactured in the US. Over the 26 years of production, approximately 36,000 Vipers were slithering around the world on streets and tracks alike. The thing that set the Viper apart from other cars out of Detroit was its high-displacement V10 engine. It was naturally aspirated, meaning it has no forced induction like a turbo or a supercharger. The pushrod 2-valve 90-degree bank V10 designed by Chrysler with an aluminum block castings designed by Lamborghini made 645 horsepower and 600 pound-feet of torque in its most powerful iteration. Depending on the year or generation, 0 to 60 times varied from 4.5 to 3.5 seconds, and top speeds varied from 160 to 200 miles an hour, again depending on the year and generation. There's a little bit of a long but super entertaining video on the engineering of the Dodge Viper ACR in the description for you. The Viper's unique design and powerful performance remain a memorable chapter in American automotive history because Dodge did what they usually do. They pushed the norm and made the most why not thing just because. This attitude really kicked off their philosophy for a while in squeezing as much fun into a vehicle as possible. If you get the chance to experience or even drive one, you know what I'm talking about. This snake may not have been perfect when it was born, but as it grew up, it became dangerous and noteworthy. Like the video if you want to see more on Dodge, and thank you for watching. I hope you learned a little bit about the Dodge Viper.